Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Preparing for College. So excited to have Tony Steuer with us to discuss financial preparedness for our kids as they're getting ready to go away to school. Welcome, Tony.
Hey, Vicky, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today as well.
And we're definitely excited to have you here. Love this topic. I'm always talking to my own kids about being financially ready and understanding finances, and I think it's so important for all of our children.
I completely agree. And unfortunately, our kids don't get a lot of financial education in their school. They go in, or sometimes they don't know the basics, like we were talking a little bit about pre-show. Is what is the opportunity cost of making a choice that they have? How does time value of money work? Things like that. Choices that they make today are going to impact the rest of their lives,
And
potentially.
certainly, and they don't always understand it. Sometimes we're just mom or dad, but sometimes maybe if they listen to one of their teachers, somebody else in their lives, maybe they'll pay attention. And we hope by providing this information to all of you, it may be lessons that you can also impart onto your children.
Exactly. Or even use in your own life to help maximize your personal finances, which, as a parent, sometimes it's leading by example. Our kids pick up the things that we do, and we oftentimes miss that as parents, is that habits that we set and the precedents we set is our kids tend to mimic, even when they're teenagers, and we think that they're not listening or paying attention to us.
Definitely. I keep thinking about things that I'm doing today and the lessons that I picked up from my own parents. Not that I ever really shared that with them, but it's true. You pick up from your own parents. Definitely.
Definitely. And it's like you said about the teachers, it's the environment that you see. If you see people who are one way with their, let's say, credit cards, because I think that's a super important thing for kids to learn about. I know I struggled with the magic of credit cards when I went to college. I got a credit card. I thought it was great. I had all this money. And so I used my credit card. And of course, later on, the ramifications came home of, hey, you got to pay a little bit more than the minimum payments, and that there's a long-term ramification. But that's the kind of things kids are facing when they go to college, is all of a sudden credit card companies prey on college kids. And that's why they get all these great offers. And the kids, like many adults, don't understand that you have to be careful. Debt is not bad. It's how you manage debt that can be bad or really good. So
So,
I
so
think
do me
that's
a favor.
important.
Do me a favor, Tony. Share with everyone a little bit about why you are such a proponent of financial preparedness. What brought you here to today?
Well, when I grew up, I wanted to be an insurance salesman. No, I'm just kidding, because that's every kid's dream, right? To be insurance. I started out in insurance sales, and then I quickly became a fee-based insurance consultant. And in that role, I worked for financial planners, attorneys. I did a stint with the California Department of Insurance on a curriculum board. So I got a lot of practice at taking a look at behind the curtain and seeing how people work, different advisors and insurance companies worked with clients. And what I started to see is that oftentimes there are definitely a lot of bad actors out there, but a lot of times market conduct issues stem from miscommunication or a lack of financial literacy. Is basically the client wanted one thing and the agent and insurance company gave them something else. And that's where it came to me, is that we need to tackle that education component and helping people to help themselves. It's not so much that we need to shove educational tools at them. We have to help people figure out how to engage in themselves. It's like that old adage, you teach a woman, if you give a woman a fish, you feed her for a day. If you teach a woman to fish, you feed her for life. And that's what we have to do
I think that applies
with
to anybody,
finance.
not just women.
Oh no, but I'm changing the dynamic, because we have to change the way we think about this. Because every time you've heard that adage, have you heard it with a man or a woman?
I always thought of that adage as gender neutral, but
But it is that thing, is you hear the term man and you hear it first, and that's another example of how we have to look at the language we use and how we think about these things. It's like we have to get to the understanding that how this works, how it impacts me, what questions do I need to ask, that we need to be a responsible consumer. And to get back to kids and financial preparedness is we have to help kids ask the right questions when they're reviewing their finances. And if they don't even know the questions to ask, then watching a video on 529 plans or scholarships is not really going to help them because it's just more information that they don't know how to use. So that's why I'm into financial preparedness.
What do you suggest? Kids are going off to college. We both have kids in this age range. What do you suggest for them to best organize as they're going off to college and while they're in school?
Well, I think that they need to be realistic about what they're going to be encountering. And so I think, like with anybody, is the first thing that you need to think about is cash flow. You need to think about your income and expenses. Is getting back to the very basics. I avoid the word budget because it's sort of like diet. It can create a lot of connotations, people, but you do need to think in terms of you can't spend more money than you're taking in. Now, of course, with college, that rule does go out because you do need to borrow money. But your first thing is to have an idea, well, how much of my expenses can I cover from my income? Now, kids are usually not going to have an income, and that's something where they need to talk with their parents about. Are their parents going to give them money? Are their grandparents going to give them money? Are they going to get scholarships? That's all income.
Well, and
And
let's also add to that for a second. So it is possible, just so everyone knows, for the kids to get part-time jobs on campus. And it doesn't have to be need-based, but yeah, there are opportunities on campus where the kids can work 5, 7, 10 hours a week, and they have their spending money. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. The kids will get work experience, they'll learn time management, and especially if they get a job on campus, usually the offices are more lenient when it comes to exams and all of that. Yeah, if the kids are interested, I think it's a great idea.
and the more income they can bring in, the lower their expenses are, the less money that they'll have to borrow. And it's like if you can bring in scholarships, or like you say, is if they work, then they're increasing their income. And if they're managing their expenses, the same thing. It's the basics that we all should follow in our financial life.
I've heard very often from parents about how the kids will keep coming, they spend all that's in their account and they go back to mom and dad and routinely ask for more. So it's an important conversation to have with the kids, what you expect them to spend their money on and not. How many coffees are they buying per day in Starbucks on campus? Just something to consider.
And I think it's important. In my practice, I got to deal with a lot of high net worth people who are making a boatload of money, and it's the same thing. A lot of them outspend the money that they earn. So it's not really that. It's more the mindset of being mindful about the expenses. And I love the coffee example because I think that is something that we need to also think differently about. I don't think anybody needs to give up their daily $5 coffee, but that you need to think about it in a perspective that maybe you get a coffee once a week as a treat and not give it up. But are you concentrating on the $5 decisions, or I guess maybe $10 decisions if you've been to Starbucks recently? Or are you concentrating on the $100 decisions? Like, is your kid buying designer clothing? Are they getting the latest sneakers for $300? That's a big decision where $300, that's what, 60 coffees? So are you concentrating on that $5 choice, or are you concentrating on the big ticket? Are they waiting for that sneaker drop every week or buying the latest video games? So I think that's it, is, it's a perspective.
Definitely. But, one thing that I always encourage, and this certainly brings it up, it's important to have conversations with your kids and share expectations, especially if you're going to be helping to support them while they're in college and giving them an allotted amount per month. What do you expect them to spend that money on, and how do you expect them to budget it? And will there be entertainment included within the money that you're allotting them, or is clothing part of it, or separate? Or important conversations just to share expectations.
100%. And you can help your child figure that out, because it's not realistic to tell your child, hey, you're not going to buy this or do that, because it's just not going to happen. And they're going to blow through it. And that's what happens. And that's why I liken budgets to diets. Is, if the diet's too strict, nobody's given up dessert every day for the rest of their lives. That's just not really realistic. And Every once in a while, you need to spend money on something that's just stupid or inefficient or whatever, but something that brings you great joy. And that's the other part of it, is prioritize it. If getting that sneaker drop is the biggest thing to you, well, maybe just do it once a year or twice a year, whatever. But prioritize some of these things that are important to you, because otherwise you're going to blow through your budget.
Well, we're talking about the sneakers now that the child has, the student, the college student has to have. Hey, their budget is gone. They have no money in the bank. Let's go get a credit card in the student center. Now what?
Well, that's where you get into talking to them about the long-term ramifications of debt. And that's where you have to go back to a little bit of understanding of math and understanding how the interest rate on a credit card compounds. Because what got me in trouble in college was not understanding that not only that the minimum payment does not cover all of the interest. And so that I was being charged interest on the interest of the money I had borrowed. And that's how it quickly snowballs into a debt issue. So you have to talk that through with your child to say, is like, look, this is how a credit card works. This is how the minimum payment is calculated. And then show them that, like, because on the credit card statement, it does say this will take you 50 years to pay back if you make the minimum payments. And that's something that should have an impact. But it's those types of things that we all ignore because that's in like a really faint font and it's hard to read and it's super small, but it's there because a credit card company doesn't want you to read that with good reason, of course, because it's not profitable for them if you read it and go, oh my, I need to change how I'm doing this.
I'm going to share this. My parents shared it with me when I was a teen. I know it's not always doable for everyone, but important information to share with your kids when they can. Pay the bill in full every single month. Do not let it go, because then you do run into these interest charges.
Exactly. And talk to them a little bit about forecasting. Talk to my son, we do have some money put aside for him for college, but I told him look, he wants to be a nurse. And so with nursing, he's going to have to go to school for longer than 4 years. I go, you want to be careful. I go, you may be able to go to an expensive college for the first 2 years, but then you're not going to have any money for the last 2 years. So I go, you need to set up that long-term budget. And if your kid is going to school to be in a major where they're not going to make a lot of money, let's say they want to go into the nonprofit world where it doesn't pay very well, but it's something that they're passionate about. So, well, if you take on this debt, the average salary in your chosen field is going to be pretty low. You don't want to go into that carrying debt because you want to be able to pay your rent when you start out after you graduate. That's where, just like we do, while we think about financial independence, when we can retire from our jobs, for our kids, we have to talk to them about the long-term goals, is because college is just a milestone on their financial journey.
Definitely. I know you also brought up insurance. What do kids need to know about insurance at this stage?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think the two biggest things are medical insurance, of course. And most kids can stay on their parents' health insurance if the parents have a group health insurance policy through the employer through age 26. Through the student's age 26, not the parents' age 26, is making sure the health insurance stays in place, but then checking, like, if the child goes out of state, does that insurance policy still cover them the same, or is there an out-of-network charge? Are they better off at that point going on the university's healthcare plan? So you have to think about not only is there coverage, but is the coverage going to apply and be helpful to them? So those are the questions that aren't often asked. People go, well, this is cheaper. Well, yeah, maybe there's a good reason why it's cheaper. Is you have to take a look at what does the coverage actually cover. I think the other thing that's critical for students, it's often overlooked, is renter's insurance. And renter's insurance covers everything within their residence, whether it's a dorm room or an apartment or what have you. So it covers their computers, bikes, all the things that a college student usually has.
Yeah,
And
there's also
renter's insurance policies. Oh, sorry.
there's also specific dorm insurance that's out there, and there's also tuition insurance. If you're nervous that your child may not make it wherever they're going. There's all different types of insurance for college. And just getting back to the medical, for those that are interested, that have kids that are thinking about going for their masters, if when they go for their masters, they can get a graduate assistantship, technically they're then becoming an employee of the university, and they usually have their health insurance covered, which is just one of the benefits. So just wanted to share that.
No, that's a great point, and I think that raises another point: is that parents, if they work for a larger employer, they should look at other employee benefits that their employer may offer. Is their employer may offer money to help your kids go to college?
Definitely.
Or it's that same principle as understanding employee benefits. Is if the student, and also if they go to work for a certain company, even like I think Starbucks has programs to help their employees who are going to school. It's to take full advantage. And I know that's what your business is about, Vicki, is getting parents to focus on all the available resources that might be available to them.
Definitely. So definitely check with your employer for any tuition benefits for your children. Check if your kids are working, check with their employers. There is money out there that's possible to go to cover college costs, or towards college costs, let me say. With the rate that college costs are increasing, I don't know if anything will fully cover. Tony, what's the number one tip that you'd give to students today and their parents regarding financial preparedness?
It is to take their time, be careful, and to think things through. Think about the ramifications of their decisions and go learn something. Learn about these different things. Do your research. Kids are in college because they were able to do research in high school as one of their activities. So apply those same skills. Be curious about areas of your personal finance.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Tony, for being here today. I always love this conversation. I feel like it could go on and on and on.
Well, hopefully this is useful for everybody out there who's tuned in today. And appreciate you having me on, Vicki. Thank you.
Tell us, where can everybody find you?
Well, you can find my books on Amazon, or you can come to my website, which is tonysteuer.com, which you can actually see how it's spelled. I'm pointing to the wrong corner up there.
And share the titles of your books.
Well, Get Ready, I think, is the one that would be most helpful for parents who are preparing their kids for college. It allows you to do an inventory of all things in your financial life. Now, for your student, they may not have many parts to fill out, but it's a good place for them to start thinking about how to organize their financial lives.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Tony. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Vicki.